Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Anneke from Holistic Health and Fitness Quest, and welcome to this corner of the internet. Today I'm talking about knitting. For me, knitting is a kind of break state between doing different things in my life, and especially when the going gets tough, it's really nice to be able to take a piece of knitting and just mindlessly go left to right and keep on going. So I will start out with all the works in progress, the WIPs, and basically that's everything because at this moment in time I've got nothing that I've finished and actually want to keep. So all the things I'm knitting at the moment, no, not all of them. I'm knitting them to continue knitting them, or I'm knitting them and I'm going to rip them back and do something else. So if we start with this piece, this is wool spun by both my dad and me. It's got a long story and maybe I'll get to it one day. It's going to be a cardigan. So as you can see, the sleeves are still missing. And the reason for the pattern is basically purely based on the yarn that I had available. I'm originally from the Netherlands and my mom still lives there, and that's where the wool was. And whilst I was visiting in August, September last year, I was really hoping to get her going again, and in the process I took some of the wool that was spun home in order to make a big blanket together with her. And in the end I continued with what I initially wanted all along. I wanted a cardigan. So this thing has a lot of problems because it's hand spun wool by both my dad and me. So there's lots of variation in thickness. Now those variations are not very obvious. So you might just knit a piece and then take another ball and knit another piece, and it turns out that they've got different dimensions. So this has been a labor of love so far already, because the spickled yarn at the front and the spickled yarn at the back, even though when you look at them they look exactly the same, there's a slight difference. So lots of ripping back has happened already. I do have one sleeve, I don't know where it is at the moment, which is finished and which fits. The other sleeve I had and it turned out that that wool was also a slightly different dimension, and it didn't quite fit. So that's in the process of being ripped back, and now I have to rethink what I'm doing. So this is this. They are all panels. I've got wooden buttons for the front. My British friends tell me that it needs fringes, it's very 70s and needs fringes. I do agree it's very 70s. I don't know where the fringes come from. I'm not sure the Netherlands had that much fringes on their self-spun and knitted garments. Because I really don't have anyone who can help me with fitting, and I wanted it to fit at least slightly, I did a lot of ribbing in the waist, and because the yarn is so thick and the fabric becomes so stiff, I thought it would be better to kind of gradually do the ribbing, otherwise it wouldn't sit nicely. It wouldn't really happen. So if I take this out and keep it closer to the camera, then maybe you can see what I mean by that. So I've started ribbing here, I don't know, every 11th stitch or something, and then shorter, a bit further on there's more ribs, and then there's every other stitch is a rib, and that way the waist will go in at least a little bit. There's a little bit of shaping without it being shaped with decreases and increases. And then there's a scarf or shawl, whatever it's called, neckline, just by doing lots of short rows that become longer over time. So this is very much work in progress. I've got one more sleeve to do, put all the ends in, put the buttons on, put sleeves in. It's very tempting to just use it as a body warmer, and it's warm. It really is warm. I did ask the rest of the family if they wanted something knit out of this wool, because my mom has a whole stash of it, and everyone said no because it's very scratchy wool. The wool is from our own sheep's, well, my parents' sheep, tassels in various colors, and even here in the scarf you can see that the yoke is a different color from the neckline, rest of the neckline scarf bit, just because it's a different sheep. They got grayer over time, so the black sheep would go grey over time, and yeah, I think it's beautiful, but it's very difficult to find matching wool and find enough of the same wool to create one garment. Hence this this creation. I will cherish it because my dad passed away in March 2020, so it's very dear to me. But yeah, and it's also why I want to finish it, and I want to wear it. It's really nice and warm, and as you can see by my layers, it's flipping cold over here. So that's that. It's under progress, and it's going to be finished. So there's that. From the same batch of wool, I also had white wool and some more grey, and I saw a piece of fabric, knitted fabric, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And so I immediately made a test knit, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I want to see what I can do. And I had this white yarn, you know, the white wool. And I thought, oh, let's make a scarf, a big nice scarf. And it has become a big white scarf. And I wanted to make it a kind of loop. So to put the outside of the one end to the inside of the other end, so it became more of a not quite a figure of eight, I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, it would be nice to put on. And the thing with this fabric is, or the way I knitted it, let's put it that way. So I started in the middle because I didn't know how much I had. So I started in the middle, and then I increased and increased and increased, and in the end I thought, oh, it needs a little bit of an edge, so I put an edge on when I almost run out of white. Where's the white gone? I had this much white left, and I didn't think that would last all the way around. It really is very long. So I did an edging with the grey, but you can only really appreciate how the fabric shapes once it's off the needle. And even I've got this very long round knitting needle, but even with that you can't see how it shapes because of the crinkles in the fabric. And once it was finished, well, almost finished, because I didn't even get to the very last bit of it. And I've got this much more to go to finish it. And I put it on the floor and I looked at it and I thought, it's nice. I've done it. Yes, it works. Proof of concept. Am I going to wear it? And the answer is no. This is too angular for me, which sounds a bit weird because I knew it was going to be angular. So I don't really know why I went on for so long, other than you can't see the fabric until it's finished. I don't know. Again, this is from wool spun by my dad and me, and so I'm going to make some really nice pictures, rip it back, put it on some balls and rethink what I'm going to do with it. I did not want to put the white in the cardigan because there's so much going on design wise in the cardigan that if I was going to add the white, it wasn't going to be, I didn't think it was going to be nicer or prettier, just more, and more does not necessarily equal lovely and amazing. So almost finished project, I'm going to rip it back. All right. Sorry, got stuck under my shoe. Now, this is a project I've started a couple of years ago, and very carefully taking it out of the bag. I started it a couple of years ago. So just color work, dark red and kind of curry yellow color. It's superwash. Sorry, that might not have come across on the microphone. So I've made this I started this a couple of years ago. Color work, superwash, dark red and curry color. It's very, very, very thick. So I'm thinking about steeking it. And I've come to a point in the pattern, which I'm making up as I go along, where I have to make a couple of decisions about how I'm going to do the armholes, how I'm going to shape it further. And it requires a lot of brain space. And at this moment in time, I just haven't got the brain space. So it's sitting there. I've got one sleeve which is quite far done. But again, I need to know how to continue. So I don't know whether I'm going to create some sort of raglan and see if I can make it go along one of those lines, but that's going to require even more brain space. So maybe I'm just going to steek the armholes as well. I can decrease it first, keep on going around and steek it that way. And for the center, because initially I wanted it to be a jumper, because there's a lot going on. There's enough. I don't need any more. I don't need the bit for the buttons. However, this is so thick and so warm that I don't think I would wear it an awful lot, even though it's cold now. And maybe I would. Maybe I would. I don't know. But current thinking is that it will be a cardigan, so I will stick it at the front. Yeah, not much more to say about this other than it's going in the pile of to be finished later, because I need to make a couple of decisions. Right, that's that. Then a jumper for myself, which is mindless knitting in the round. And I've been punished for not doing the calculations properly, for not thinking about it. As you may have guessed by now, I don't follow patterns. I can knit. As you can see by the collar work, I can knit. I've been knitting since I was tiny. Knitting, embroidery, crochet, whatever was going. I would do. My mum would do a lot of needlework, and I would just follow along. She would do a lot of sewing. I think the first garment I made for myself, I was 7, both sewing and crochet. I don't know where it is. I've got a yellow acrylic cardigan, which was it's such a loose way of knitting that it was very stretchy. So maybe it still fits, who knows? But I don't know where it is. It must be in storage. Anyway, so I've been doing needlework for a long time. And the way I learned is by creating your own patterns. I cannot read a pattern to save my life. Don't know where to start, don't know what all the things mean, and unless it comes with proper a proper way of explaining it, then I don't know what it is. But for this one, I wanted to try to knit a jumper top down, because that was something I'd never done. I've always started at the bottom, and yeah, I just wanted to give it a go. Also because I never used a cable needle until I started the collar work. And for the collar work, I don't remember, because in the Netherlands you get long needles, double pointed, and I didn't have a full set of long needles double pointed. So when I was looking online, as you do, for double pointed needles, they were also tiny. They were very tiny needles. I thought, what do you do with that? But they're for socks and sleeves and all the rest of it. Anyway, so I had to learn to knit again, because the way I learned to knit was put the needles under your arms, and then basically your hands are free to move, whilst the needles that go around, there's only a very small hard bit to hold on to. You can't put it under your arms. So I had to learn to knit again. And for the collar work, I learned how to knit with both hands. So one collar on one hand, other collar on the other hand. I had done collar work before, but not to this scale. And I didn't want to keep on changing the thread with the same hand. I thought that's going to take forever. And that went surprisingly quick. So that was the first project with a cable needle. And I thought, well, if I've got a cable needle, I'll try a top-down version. So I made one, and I didn't do swatches, proper swatches. And the first attempt was wrong because I did a raglan wrong, as in too many increases. So this is the second attempt where at least I've got the amount of stitches right on the body, and it's a lovely fabric. It's again superwash wool, because I bought a load of it, and before Brexit I thought I'll be ahead of the curve. I don't want to spend any money on importing wool, and this is from Hobby in Denmark. It was also end of line, so it was simple wool, and I've got a whole lot of colors of this. So they were end of line. So the two combined, Brexit coming on and the end of line, I bought a lot of wool. So I bought this as well. It's very much my color. I love it to bits. I've just done the sleeve, which is almost finished, and I put it on, and I've been umming and ahhing about the neckline. And I'm going to rip it back. I'm going to start again just because this puckers way too hard, and I don't think I can block it out, because if I block it out, the neckline becomes very wide. Anyway, I should have done my homework better. I'm going to create a couple of swatches to see how the how I can do the raglan different, because I'm quite busty. I want more fabric at the front than at the back, and that fabric needs to go somewhere, so I need to get rid of the fabric before it gets to my neck. And maybe one way is to get rid of it in the front side body part of the raglan, but of course that makes the angle different and the stretch on that strip different. So I'll do a proper swatch and see if I can actually do that, because the fit of the body is lovely. I mean, it's really nice. It's a fitting jumper, and the idea was to have a dark brown t-shirt of the same material over it, so it's kind of extra layer, because when I sit still, I'm a therapist and I've got a membership group, so I spend a lot of time behind my computer or in front of my laptop, whichever way you want to see it. And when you're sitting still, and this is a north facing room, it's flipping cold, and even if I would put up the heating makes me a bit drowsy, and my feet and my legs would still get cold. So there's no point in putting up the heating. It's better to add layers, and to have a woolen jumper with a kind of t-shirt material, whatever it's called, turtleneck thing underneath, and then instead of the body warmer I would have a t-shirt made out of the same material. That would be amazing. And it being separate layers, I can take things off, put things on. I even have dark green, out of which I could make a kind of vest. So it will be 3 layers. I mean, how warm do you need to be? So I still like it. Oh yes, one of the reasons to start to do the to create a top-down version was because I didn't know how much wool I needed, because it didn't say on the label. I couldn't find it on any of the photos in the gallery, and by now it's taken down, so there's nothing left of this of the information of this wool. So I don't know how much wool I need, and that's why I said, okay, if I do top down, at least at least this part is covered. And when I go down, I know I've got enough dark brown, so I can add a border of dark brown if I don't have enough to make a full sweater. But I will have plenty. I am going to take it down, and then I'm going to make it from the bottom up, because I know I've got enough. And I find it, I'm sure if you've got something with a collar work yoke, it might be nice to work top down. But I find it's a lot of fabric to be moving around on your lap. And if I were to create at least the body up to the armholes and the sleeves separately, yeah, that would make it easier to move the fabric around, at least I hope. So we'll see how it goes. This again will be taken down. I have to say, this is the very first time I've been knitting a sleeve with a circular needle. I don't really like it. And I'll see if I have needles to short needles, because I did buy some short needles. If that doesn't go any faster. I don't particularly like it. It's too, how to put this? It's nor here nor there. I can only knit short bits, although those needles do have a bend in them, which makes it slightly easier to knit sleeves, because I also have the prim needles, the ergonomic ones, which I love, by the way. They are absolutely amazing. But they're quite long, so they stick out of the fabric on all ends, and yeah, I either haven't got quite the hang of it yet, or yeah, don't know what to do. Anyway, I'll try that. It's a nice fabric. It's dense, and it will be very warm when it's finished, which is not today. And then from the same wool, again, I didn't do a proper swatch. I made a headband, and then I just made a beanie with a nice simple top, which, as you can see, is still not finished, but it's quite big for me, and I think it's way too big. I want it to be high because I want my bun to be in there, but it's too loose. There's hardly any grip on my head. I think if there's a bit of a bit of wind blowing, I wouldn't just. But you see, I can stretch it out like that. It's way too big, so that needs scrapping as well, because I don't know anyone with a head this big. It doesn't need to be stretched all the way, but this is ridiculous. So this needs redoing as well. And I have to say, to do knit purl on a cable needle, I find it a bit tedious. So I'll have to see what I do, if I'm going to make something similar. But with all those projects, winter might be over by the time I get to this. And then the last bit is going to be a sweater for my son, who's going to leave. Sorry. He is going to leave the house, which is lovely. I don't know what happened here. Well, I do know what happened here. The needle has gone out. So let's see if I can make that. It's a cable. It's a Celtic. Ah, there it is. Celtic cable, which I love. I just looked up cables online. When I asked my son what he wanted, he said just a plain sweater. Excuse me. If I'm going to knit you a sweater and I'm going to put time and effort in it, it better be a nice sweater. I'm not going to give you just a plain sweater. So we looked at some cables and we looked at some things, and I created a design which he liked, and for some reason, I don't know what happened, I cabled every other row, and with a plait in itself that's fine. It's just that it now misses depth. So So this Celtic cable bit is much shorter, much stumpier, and it lacks the depth. So I need to rip it back and elongate it. And then there's cables to the left and the right, and there's a honeycomb cable, and then of course same on the other side. But yeah, so I need to rip this back because it's not. If I wanted to make the cable like this, then there would be no need for the pearl stitches. I could just weave it. Whilst with this one, if you look closely, you see that there are pearl stitches in the background. Let's see. Which gives it extra depth. It's black. It's difficult to see. But yes, so with the main fabric as I'm making it now, it could just be any other weave. It could just be a cable. With the test knit that I did, there's pearl stitches, and then there's the cable on top of the pearl stitches. And that was the look I was going for. I don't know why I did the cable every other needle rather than every fourth, which would have made sense. So that's going to be ripped back. So out of everything, what I'm going to keep is the homespun yarn, the sweater, and the cardigan, and the color work, dark red and curry. And the rest is all going to be ripped back. So there's no finished projects, there's no acquisitions. I've got plenty of wool. Would I like to buy wool? Oh, I'd love to buy wool. I've seen some Holz yarn from Denmark that looks absolutely amazing. I've seen yarn at Woolly Knits. I've seen Jameson of Scotland. All beautiful, and it has to wait for a bit. I did give away a lot of yarn to a friend who wanted to learn to do color work, so she came here one evening and we sat down, and I gave her some needles and some wool, and told her, explained how to do it. And then there were some colors, because I did this bulk buy of yarn just before Brexit, and I find it quite difficult to judge a color on a screen. I bought some yarns that are not my color. They were very much on the bluey purple scale, whilst my colors are more autumnal, and they just didn't go with anything really. And she loved those colors. She wears those colors, so that was a happy visit for her. So she learned how to do color work, and she went home with a lot of yarn. I have to say that once I've worked myself through quite a lot of the yarn, and I'm not going to say that I'm going to work myself through all the yarn, but once I've worked through a lot of the yarn, the next yarn I will buy is going to be 100% wool and not superwash. There's something acrylic feeling on it, and it's very round, it knits very well, it looks really good, and once I've worked myself through this stash, or kind of worked myself through this stash, the next buy is going to be 100% wool, non-superwash, most probably from Woolly Knits, or if I go to the Netherlands and can have the Holst garn delivered to my mum, I will get it from Denmark. But Great Britain's got lots of yarn, so you know, I'm spoiled for choice. It's just how much money are you willing to spend, because Jameson is quite a lot of money. Quite a lot of money, whilst Woolly Knits is far more affordable. So yeah, that's it for now. As I said before, I don't know when my next video is going to be. When will I have anything finished, especially at this rate where I'm going to rip back an awful lot of stuff. I also have to move house, which some people may say, well, you just put everything in boxes and off you go. The finding of a house and the arranging of things is quite difficult in Great Britain. It's in the top, I think it's in the top 3 of stresses, stressful moments in people's life. Now, I've moved house a lot, so in itself, moving house as a thing doesn't hold, if I say any mysteries, the universe will come and curse me and will bring up something new. But I've done it a lot, so it doesn't really hold that many mysteries to me. It's the stress of finding a house and getting everything ready, and then moving, and then unpacking, all the rest of it. So I'm going to view a house on Tuesday, and hopefully that's the house for me, and everyone agrees that it's the house for me, and we can arrange it, and off I go. That would be amazing. That's currently the aim, unless I win the lottery and I can buy a house, and then I'll buy a house. But even that, buying a house in Great Britain is a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. I've been here since 1999. I've owned 2 houses, which I bought and sold, all horrible experiences. The buying not so much, because the buying was new builds, so that was relatively easy, but the selling is horrible. Lived in various rental properties. I've been homeless for a while. Don't worry, it was kind of self-inflicted, because in Great Britain there's a system of a chain, and the whole chain. So one person sells a house, someone else buys it, and the person who buys the house sells his or her house, and someone else buys it, and that's where you get a chain. And now in the Netherlands, you do that, you arrange that, you trust it all to work out. You get a bridging mortgage, and you make sure that there's at least a couple of days, if not a couple of weeks, depending on how much work the new place needs doing. You've got a bridging loan, and it all works out. In Great Britain, everyone packs their house the same day and moves the house the same day, provided that everything works well. So all the mortgages are indeed validated, and all the movers are showing up, and there's so many moving parts, and the longer the chain, the more trouble you could potentially be in. So it's a very stressful thing. Anyway, at this moment in time, I've looked, and there was nothing on the market when I looked last week. Last week was the last time I looked. I have to say, I didn't look after that. Once I made the appointment to view the one house. So yeah, it's a bit of it's interesting times. Let's put it that way. It's interesting times. I don't know where it's going to lead me. I don't know how often I can do this podcast. At this moment in time, I've used knitting as a break state. So whenever I've been in touch with official people about the house, I would go stress out. And I needed to calm down and put myself in a different vibe before I would move on to work with clients or work on content for my membership. Because if I would do that in the same kind of vibe, that would be really bad. So I needed something to neutralize everything, and knitting was knitting or going for a walk. That was the method of choice this time around. Hence, I've done a lot of knitting, but you can also see the state of mind I was in, and I don't mind. I don't mind ripping back some mindless knitting, just because it will give me more mindless knitting to do, and I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Yes, so needlework, knitting. There will be some. I do medieval reenactments, so I'm making dresses for that, or aprons, or shifts, or whatever. Whatever is going. This won't be just about knitting. It's just at this moment in time I do a lot of knitting. So at this moment in time, it's about knitting. But there will be other things on this channel as well. Right, that's it. I'm going to sign off. Wishing you all the best. Wishing you a lovely time. Oh yeah, there's one more thing. I have finished something. I thought, because what am I wearing? I'm wearing knitwear, but I didn't knit it myself. This cardigan I bought years and years and years ago in Ludlow, in a small boutique. Ludlow is a lovely little town. If you have the chance, go there, walk around. It's got small independent shops. Well, it had, at least before the lockdowns. And now this cardigan, it's wearing out. And on the elbows, one patch was actually worn through already. But I darned it. Ta-da! And it's very dark purple. And I liked it so much. I thought, maybe I should just do random circles on my cardigan. Just because they're so jolly. They need to be bigger, but at least I covered the bit that was worst affected. I guess I need to create one of those elongated patches, as if you were to sew on patches. But yeah, so this is something I actually finished because I had to. If I didn't do that, there wouldn't be anything to darn, and I would have to... Is darning the right word? I don't know. I did follow the stitches. So I didn't weave, I followed the stitches. I thought that was darning. I have to look that up. Anyway, I fixed it. I fixed it and I reinforced it. And even the tiny bit that didn't have... It was one stitch that had no threads at all. And surrounding it, you know, there were bits with one thread, as in one fibre, one woolly fibre to keep it together. So I managed to hold on to the stitch and just follow the stitch, and it's hanging together. So I may have to look at it again, give it a wash and see what happens. And if all else fails, I can still weave through. So I did finish something. Yes! And I've got another woolen sweater which has got a mott hole, as in really just tiny flipping hole in it, which I have to fix, but it's got a lighter base. So I can't do that with dark purple, I have to see. But this would be the right color for it. But this yarn is way too thick for it. So I don't know what to do. I have to think about that. I have to look it up. Oh, yeah, have a look at it and think about it. But as I said, my brain is preoccupied with other stuff. I'm gonna love you and leave you. I wish you all the best. Enjoy your knitting, and until next time, whenever that may be. Have a lovely day. See you. Thank you. Bye-bye.